Greetings, Gatehouse Insiders. We are back for another episode of Gatehouse Insights. In this episode, I'm speaking with Michael from DeMarco Lawyers, where we'll be diving deeper into the topics of insolvency law and merging a practice. Make sure you subscribe to the Gatehouse Legal Recruitment YouTube channel to catch it all. So I wanted to begin with the merger that you went through late last year in December. Can you talk us through the process and what motivated you to go down that path?
Sure. Michael Pickering, who was one of the principals of Judicate Lawyers with myself, knew Joseph DeMarco quite well. They had both studied their accredited property law specializations, Joseph DeMarco also having his accredited business law accreditation. We knew each other through attending the Northern Suburbs Law Association CPD seminars. We would sit together and get along quite well. DeMarco Lawyers have been operating for about 50 years, while Judicate Lawyers only was around for 2 years, through an unfortunate situation whereby the law firm which myself and Michael Pickering and all the staff were working for unfortunately had to close down due to the unexpected death of the director of the firm that we were working for. Michael Pickering is in his late 60s, while I'm in my 30s. We obviously wanted to set a practice whereby we obviously wanted to look out of our client base as being number one. We wanted to be a practice whereby we wanted to act as both sword and shield, which we felt was not seen quite often in the legal industry. And in addition to that, the DeMarco brand had a strong client base, which we also had as well in property and commercial litigation. Through discussions, we understood that they had a need for quality staff due to the fact that suburban firms tend to lose quality lawyers and quality staff to the thought that being in a city firm is better. That could be true, and in other circumstances that may not be. But we can't stop someone wanting to see whether or not working in a bigger firm would be beneficial for them. Whilst we wanted growth as a practice, and both Joseph DeMarco and Michael Pickering wanted a succession plan moving forward. All three of us are very like-minded individuals. We care about our client base a lot. We take it a lot personally when we actually do the work that we do for our clients. We are as happy as they are when we actually provide good results, and we take concern seriously if there is anything that is raised as an issue, quite minor in circumstances, where it could just be simply, could you do a deadline in about 24 hours or 48? Why wasn't it done? And we would just simply explain it was just the timing. But never fret, it's done now. Through the merger happened quickly through discussions. We didn't really have time to fine-tune how the transition period would be. But through sheer discussion, meetings, attending events outside of the legal industry, and really knowing and understanding that we're both like-minded, we're loyal to the industries that we're in, and we care about the client base, we found that we all could actually sync in the diversity and dynamic of the merger to bring the merger into effect. And we thought that keeping the name DeMarco Lawyers and not mixing it with the Judicate brand would have just been logical, for the sole reason that DeMarco Lawyers was operating for 50 years while we were operating for 2. Yeah.
Did you have any concerns with the merger?
One of the concerns that we all had once we were sitting down talking about the merger was that we wanted to make sure that this was not seen as a takeover. Clearly, we were going to be taking on their namesake, which we found appropriate. But we also didn't want to have the staff, when they were told that we were going to be merging, that they would be worried that this was going to be a situation where people would lose their jobs. We wanted to simply ensure that we were going in with a 20 staff team in the DeMarco branch, 5 staff team with Judicate Lawyers, and be a total of 25 staffers, able to service offices in both Werribee and Glenroy. And the question that we obviously had was, where do we stay as the Judicate camp? We had an office in Cardigan Street, Carlton, whilst DeMarco Lawyers had an office at 470 Collins Street. Clearly, being in the suburban or outskirts of the city is a lot easier for clients to obviously attend offices and meetings. Cardigan Street obviously has a good street for parking when Lygon Street isn't busy. But we decided that we want to have a bit of a city presence as well. Again, it came down to staff tend to want to look at wanting to work in the city, and we obviously want to offer that opportunity for people to just ensure that we can keep them and have the presence that we have here. I also have a strong referral and client base in the insolvency sector, so I'm able to attend meetings in the city a lot more efficiently now than when I used to be in Carlton. I used to catch a tram ride to and from. But the main focal point was no staff will lose their jobs out of it. And we stuck by it. No one has lost or left. Well, we have had people leave, and again, for greener pastures. But out of obviously a redundancy aspect, no employee at this point in time has suffered that. And we will continue to obviously assure that will not be the case.
Yeah. Can you talk about the transitions you and your team had to make moving over to DeMarco Lawyers?
Sure. One of the transitions that we had to do was obviously relocate to the city office. We had to pack everything up that we had in Carlton and move to level 14 at 470 Collins Street. The next transition point that was and still is being fine-tuned is the policies and procedures that each practice has through their growth and lifeline of a practice. With DeMarco's long practice stance, they've got policies and procedures that work well for them and continue to do so, while Judicate Lawyers, having operating for quite a short time, had practice policies and procedures that were being fine-tuned through trial and error. Both sides of the coin benefited both firms, but we had to sit down and make a decision as to what will work for both of us in moving forward. issues like accounting, utilising DeMarco's Infinity, which is only temporary until we move into Practice Evolve, was a transition whereby as lawyers and as staff needed to understand time entries and file processes and file management systems as well, which they had operating for quite a long time. Those transitions may sound petty to some, but they're important though for us to obviously work through and be a unit as opposed to being seen as a splitting practice. Again, merging is always going to be a tough move to make without seeing it as a takeover, but we also need to see unification among staff and the ability of everyone to get along and understand what needs to be done to continue moving in the successful way forward that DeMarco has seen.
What have you seen to be the benefits of the merger so far?
Yep. So we are now able to say that we have now become one of the biggest firms in the northern suburbs. We've got offices in both Werribee, Glenroy being the main hub, and in the city. We have a diverse client base through the merger with the introduction of Insolvency through the Judicate brand and a strong network of property developers and building construction work from the DeMarco branch, and that sees the ability for us to be able to now service everyone's needs through the areas of knowledge that we have all kind of combined moving forward. We're now able to assess in situations that may seem to be an issue where people may be having a distress situation, and we're able to provide an option and a solution at a far earlier stage than a last minute or death-defying way to which we could avoid the clients, obviously, from unfortunate situations. Yeah.
Okay. Now, one of your area of specialty is dispute resolution with a particular focus on insolvency law. Can you talk us through the insolvency law? How busy is it at the moment?
Sure. As a solicitor in the insolvency sector, I'm finding it to be a lot busier lately than what it was about 6-7 months ago. Since the merger, which will happen about 6 months ago, we're noticing a lot more new inquiries from distressed individuals or company directors contacting us a lot earlier, wanting help and strategies to avoid the unfortunate situation of bankruptcies or potential wind-up. I'm of the view that this has probably been brought on by the recent Royal Banking Commission decision, which tied down a lot of the lending amongst the banks, and that has offered opportunities for second and third tier private lenders to enter the process of persuading people in distress situations that they can offer them a lifeline, but with real stringent terms and conditions, which they would probably see it as a narrow-minded exit, but on long term, they may suffer from it. We have now got, and I guess this comes down to how I was trying to explain that we wanted to offer a sword and shield practice. Whilst we are here as solicitors, defending our client base and offering a service in both commercial, property, wills and estates, criminal and family law, we also want to offer a way of a shield or protection whereby through our referral base in knowing pre-insolvency strategists, in knowing trustees and liquidators, debtor finance individuals, we're able to look at a situation on its face value, understand the client and their needs, see whether or not we can offer them an introduction to a network that can offer them an ability to avoid entering into possible lending terms to which they may default, and see whether or not they could survive a minor setback for them to be able to then move on with their life and not see a bankruptcy or a wind-up as the last chance or the only hope. Clearly, if those situations do occur, then we obviously assess it on its face value, and we offer obviously an introduction to the people that we believe would be well suited to help them, and at least they feel that they've been cared for as well from the process of being distressed to at least a surety that if I'm going to go down the barrel of bankruptcy or I'm going to lose my company because of a bad decision, at least I know the people that are going to go and help me through that potential pitfall.
Yeah. And in your thoughts, from your opinion and the way you see law, how it is, where do you see law going or where do you see it in 5 years' time?
Sure. I guess with the recent introduction of PEXA in the property market, I'm seeing that the legal industry in about 5 years may become paperless and everything will become a lot more electronic. Through my experience, I've had Skype conferences with clients rather than seeing them in person, which obviously seems to be beneficial for them, especially in situations where there are families and are unable to see a solicitor during the normal working hours. I see that we will be eradicating, it seems, the sort of paper file management processes that we've had from a long time, and possibly moving to online file sharing, cloud-based file management, whereby looking at a property file or a commercial file, we would only need to just click the client's name and see all the letters, responses, emails that we've written, and be able to move on from there. Through my work, history or legal, and past employments working in bigger firms, I also noticed that discovery was done electronically as well, where volumes of discovery documents had to be filtered through electronic systems, where we had to analyze the relevance of a document either by clicking a yes, a relevant, or irrelevant. So I am seeing the future being a lot more electronic and a lot less paper moving forward, which probably means the Amazon will most likely be surviving for another few years.
And that's it. Another episode of Gatehouse draws to an end. Thank you for watching, thank you for sharing this video with your friends, and if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the Gatehouse Legal Recruitment YouTube channel where you can see more.